Hello, good afternoon to you all, and welcome once again to um, Business Agility series with Safe. Today we are looking at DevOps in a skilled Agile environment. So we'll look at how DevOps operates, some of the components of DevOps, what it entails, and how it's being applied in some organizations. So my name is Carlos anyway. So what is DevOps? People, when you talk about DevOps, the first thing that comes to mind is about tools. People think, okay, yeah, DevOps, then we talk about tools, mainly software tools. Another thing that comes to people's mind is automation. Once you mention DevOps, people think, whoa, automation of processes. Then some people also think it's a culture of shared responsibility. What do I think? I think it's a combination of all of the above. It is a mix of tools or a blend of tools, automation, culture. So we say it's a mindset of a culture of shared responsibility. Who are those sharing the responsibility? Development and operations, hence the name DevOps, development and operations. They need to work together to continuously deliver business value through software. You know, when you take Agile, Agile has its own manifesto. So anybody who takes Agile knows that, okay, these are the guidelines that we use in product or software and product development. DevOps doesn't have that kind of manifesto, so people tend to bring in their own definitions and all of that. But I think the main focus of DevOps is about the culture, the mindset of a culture of shared responsibility between the development team and the operations team. So in SAFE, DevOps is a mindset, an enterprise-wide culture and practice, which runs through the whole of the Agile release train. But it has some 5 core concepts that we can identify. The first will be the value stream mapping. Then we can talk about, okay, so the value stream mapping spans through the whole continuous delivery pipeline. Then we can talk about gaining alignment with continuous exploration. After that, we could look at building quality in with continuous integration. I'll talk about something after explaining all of this. Then we can talk about reducing the time to market with continuous deployment. Then the last is delivering business value with release on demand. You'd realize that continuous runs through. And this is a whole cycle. It keeps looping like that. But this is just the framework. A lot of people try to adapt the framework and make changes to it. So for example, I know some organizations would want to bring in continuous design. So based on the operations or how the organization operates, they would want to continuously design. So that would be the first step for some organization. And even talking about continuous, what would you say is continuous, or how frequent is continuous? Someone's continuous would be daily. Someone's continuous, or some organizations' continuous could be weekly or monthly. Some even look at a quarterly continuous release of software or products. So here, the continuous, it mainly depends on how the organization operates. There's no fixed time frame for continuous delivery. But the main concepts you need to consider: there should be continuous exploration, continuous integration of code and software building. Then you deploy a continuous deployment. Then any time that there needs to be a release, you deliver business value to the customer by releasing on demand. In SAFE, we have what we call the karma approach to DevOps in SAFE. And the main focal point of this karma approach is the culture of shared responsibility. The culture of shared responsibility is mainly for the development and the operations teams. So they share a responsibility. They all have a responsibility of making sure that the right thing is done. They build in quality, they deliver business value at the end of the process. We could talk about automation of continuous delivery pipeline. All the processes that goes through the pipeline are automated. We could look at production, test automation, deployment automation. Everything goes through that automation. There could be some manual processes, but to try to eliminate all the manual processes and focus on automation of all the processes. Another item in the Kalmar approach is lean flow. Lean flow, we say it accelerates delivery. What do we say about lean flow? Lean flow. We could look at delivering value in small batches, small batch sizes of software delivery. Or we could look at limiting the WIP, the work in progress, so that you don't have so much stuff, so much items to be working on at the same time. This would also provide real-time visibility of software, and it tries to increase predictability. You try to accelerate feedback of all the processes. Lean flow is very essential in the DevOps process and even in the whole Kalmar approach. We could also talk about measurement of everything. Everything should be measured. And one way of doing this is by using the Kanban approach or the Kanban system to map out the whole entire delivery. So the Kanban system will provide that visualization to be able to monitor and track all the items or the backlog of items that are going through the pipeline. You tend to measure the cycle time, the lead time, and use telemetry of applications and servers. So in this case, all the applications would have a record of all the operations that they go through. Then the last of the items in the Kalmar approach is recovery. Recovery enables low risk releases. What are we doing here? We are trying to enable real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring, enabling faster recovery. We try to look at redundancy and scalability. All of these would enable you to recover when there is any damage or any issue that comes up with your system. So recovery is very important in risk assessment and risk management. So the Kalmar approach, as I said earlier on, the culture of shared responsibility is the main focal point with all the others up in. A lot of people would see DevOps as tools, automation of tools. But Steve says that DevOps should be more of a culture. What kind of values do we look at? We could talk about innovation, ownership, communication, collaboration, customer experience, trust, transparency. The tools should be there anyway. Reward for good behavior, no blame. All these are some of the values that provide that kind of culture and the environment to be able to operate well. This is very much in line with the first value of Agile, says individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So in DevOps, even as much as we are using tools and processes, we still place a lot of focus on individuals and interactions. We try to do away with the silos and the autonomous teams. We try to bring in a lot of interactions among the individuals, a lot of collaboration and communication. But I'll be moving on to the tools part, because the tools is very essential. It's the tools that is more like the enabler for all of these to happen. So I'm moving on to the tools and look at some of the stack of items that could be used within the DevOps operations. The first time I saw this kind of diagram, I was like, wow, what is all these? So this is a DevOps tool stack. When you look at this, It's a lot of tools or software tools that could be implemented. But it doesn't mean that an organization should implement all of these tools in its operations. No. So each sector of the tool has its own function that it performs. So when you talk about planning, you find that, okay, all these tools could be used in planning. These tools here could be used in building the software and the code. And this could be used in deployment. So you could see the Microsoft Azure, Amazon, the cloud, and all of that. So it depends on how the organization operates, then they're going to decide on which tool would use. A lot of the companies or organizations, what they do is they focus mainly on just the building of the code, the continuous integration and deployment as the tools, but it should go beyond that. You should look at what you're going to use to plan, what you're going to use for real-time communication and collaboration, and feedback. Very important in DevOps also. Feedback could be integrated into that too. So I'm sure when you look at these software tools that are here, some of the logos and icons are quite familiar. There's Git, there's GitLab, Google Drive, Google Docs, Office, and all of that. Trello, one of my favorites anyway. Slack, yeah, Slack is also here. So depending on the organization and how it wants to work, there's Jenkins also here too. Okay. So let's look at Azure DevOps. This a Microsoft product, Azure, and they provide this DevOps pattern. In this pattern, there's a developer who provides the code. He builds the code on a single machine, on a single software machine, but is able to deploy on different environments or different production environments here. So what happens here is the code is sent through the pipeline. So it's being built through the pipeline, then it's deployed to the various either development environment, the test environment, or the production environment. Sometimes the software could be deployed on a local data center or on the cloud. The cloud could either be a public cloud or a private cloud. Yeah. So this is just a pattern that shows how the product moves from the developer. He builds, he codes, he builds the code, it deployed, and it goes on to the different stages. Let's look at Jira also, DevOps with Jira. This is also how Jira, with its other tools that the company provides. So, for example, Jira, you plan for the entire team with the Jira software. The Jira software does all the planning for the entire team. You could collaborate on code using the Bitbucket. The Bitbucket would be used, or the Jira software could be used to build and collaborate on code with other developers. But it doesn't mean that it's limited to only the Bitbucket or the Jira software. Jira allows you to integrate with other partners. So you could have Git and GitLab using that to collaborate. Then you could deploy faster and more reliably with the continuous integration and deployment using the Bitbucket also and the Jira software. Then you need to monitor and streamline the incident management and response with OpsJourney. So OpsJourney provides that monitoring to streamline whatever incident management or any risk that could come up. Then you need to close the loop on problems with Jira Service Desk. OpsJourney can do that, Status Page can also do that for continuous feedback. So the Jira Service Desk mainly provides continuous feedback. But what you need to do is you need to keep everyone in the loop on the code reviews, on the requirements, the release notes, and all of that. Confluence helps to do that. So it's a whole package that comes with it. But Jira allows you to integrate with other partners to be able to work on the system. Yeah. Let's move to another organization, LIT. So LIT is Lean Icon Technology and Training. They work on, they have two systems that they're working on, or we are working on. So Inro is one. Inro is a web platform that aims to simplify and improve the efficiency of pharmaceutical and medical supply chain. So what are we looking at? This is the stack that Inro uses. Inro uses PHP and Laravel. Laravel is a framework that for web applications. It uses PHP to develop web applications. That is a client-optimized programming language. It's mainly built for multiple platforms. So it's able to build systems for mobile platforms, desktop, server, and web applications. We have Flutter. Flutter is also an open source user interface software development kit. It could work with Android, iOS, Linux, the Mac, and all of that, yeah. And it works on different operating systems also. The Vue.js is an open source progressive JavaScript framework, which is used to develop interactive web interfaces. Then we can talk about Django. Django is a framework for Python that works with, it's written in Python actually. Then the last one here is the MySQL. MySQL provides a relational SQL database system. We talked about MySQL when we're looking at the data items. So it's mainly used for developing databases that works with web applications. In at LIT we work on an LMS that provides the platform, a software platform to facilitate courses and training programs that are offered at LIT. And mainly the technologies that are used there is Django and Vue.js. So you realize that aside the culture, we look at the technologies or the tools that could be used in enhancing the processes or all the items within the pipeline, the continuous delivery pipeline, as I mentioned earlier. Right from the design, the exploration, the integration, and the deployment. So with DevOps, we try to take away that mindset that it's all about tools and all about automation. One critical aspect of DevOps is about the culture of shared responsibility among the development team and the operations team also. So in a skilled agile environment, DevOps tries to provide automation amongst the different levels within the organization, trying to provide a lot of collaboration and communication, transparency, trust amongst the team members. Yeah, so that is a brief overview of DevOps, and we've been looking at the Kalmar approach and the values that comprise of the Kalmar approach, and we've looked at a number of tools and processes that form the DevOps stack for various organizations. So I think I'll just pause here for any discussions or any questions and answers and feedback in the session. So if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and let's have some discussion before we end the session.
Thank you for the lecture. This is Lola. I would just like to ask you that in order for one to do to practice DevOps, does one need to know all those code, the Django, SQL, and all those things?
No, you don't need to know all of it. So it's about selecting the tools or the software tools that you are comfortable with or that are being implemented in the organization. Some people could just use maybe 4 tools in all. You don't necessarily have to know about all of the tools. Yeah.
So which one is the most frequently used in the market now?
Oh, this is very dicey. I think it depends on the kind of software product that is being developed. And okay, so for example, web applications, a lot of people prefer using PHP and Python, or like Django, one of the frameworks for web applications. Okay. Yeah. For databases, if it's for a web application, a lot of people would prefer using MySQL. If it's a Microsoft thing, like, okay, when you are developing for Microsoft or Microsoft applications, a lot of people prefer using the Azure DevOps stack, which has most of everything is on the cloud and is connected. So when you're building a database for something like that, people would prefer using the MySQL, the SQL Server database, or the Azure database. Yeah. So it depends on a lot of factors, actually.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions on the tools?
Hello, this is Angela here. Can you hear me?
Angela, yeah, I can hear you.
I have a question. How do you manage the transition from a traditional waterfall environment to an agile environment where you're using DevOps in a secure environment?
Okay. In the waterfall environment, some people you could also use DevOps, but it works better in the Agile environment, because in Agile we are trying to talk about more collaboration and communication among the team members. When you're trying to move from that, I think you need to first decide on I think first you need to get that mindset, the culture mindset of shared responsibility. A lot of people just move in straight to the tools, trying to get the people to understand the tools that are involved in the DevOps process. But I think the first stage should be getting the people to understand the mindset, the culture of DevOps, where we have a shared responsibility. Everybody is responsible for everything that goes on. Everything is transparent. There is trust. Everybody can work on everything alongside. So when you get that mindset, everybody openly works on anything that can be worked on. Then in that case, what happens is there's that ownership, and there's no blame game where, let's say, if someone works on a product or a software and there's an error, then we are looking for, who did this? No, we try to eliminate that kind of thing. After that, then you can now bring in the tools, train the people on how to work on the tools. The tools could be on collaboration, could start with how they can collaborate among themselves. In collaboration, there are lots of tools that are available, like the Trello, the Slack, the Jira. People use the Google Docs, Google Drives to share. So it depends. But most of the time, try to get the people to understand the mindset, the whole mindset. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think we could end our session here. It's almost 12:30. On Thursday, we'll be having our Agile coaching and Agile coaching session with Shelley. So please make it a point to join. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good afternoon. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Carlos.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Carlos. Well done.
Thank you.
Yo.